Welcome back to the channel. My name is Cody, and I have a very special guest, someone who is quite a bit further in their journey than anybody I've actually had on this channel. Michael, welcome to the channel.
So I think, Cody, what you just said is I'm old. I think that's what you just said, which is okay. I don't mind. I don't mind being the older statement. I've been doing this 25 years, so that's okay. I appreciate the opportunity.
With age comes the opportunity to have wisdom. So
There
I'm looking forward to getting some of that wisdom from you today. For those who haven't heard of you, which I'm guessing would be a very select few, can you give us a little summary of who you are, what you done, and why I love
Absolutely.
talking to you?
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, my story is probably like a lot of your listeners. I'm Generation X. I'm not a boomer, although some of the comments say I'm a boomer. I was raised to believe that you had to go to college or you were a loser. The story my mother would sing to me as I left the car as a kid going to grade school was, "Now, Michael, your job is to go to school, get good grades, you're going to get a good job, and you're going to make a lot of money." That was definitely the mantra that I was given, and I followed. Right, I went and got a college degree in economics. Not only was that not enough, I went back and got my MBA. On top of that, right, going in the evenings while I worked full time, and I'm also old enough to remember how I turned $7,000 into almost 200 grand because I was investing in the .com boom. And I got to tell you, as somebody who at the time never knew anybody who had any wealth, I remember looking at the $200,000 or nearly $200,000 and thinking I was smarter than Warren Buffett. Let me tell you one thing. If you ever think you're a better investor than Warren Buffett, you're not. You should sell everything and go to cash because you're about to get smashed. And smashed I did. My portfolio very quickly fell 80%. 80%. And I was left holding the bag. I was left feeling defeated. I had lost more money than I'd ever made, which was really unfortunate. But as I sit here now as somebody in their mid 50s, I now look at that as a good thing because what that sent me down is a entirely new path. You got to remember, at 30 years old, I was believing the hype, climb the corporate ladder, work till 65, invest in the 401k, invest in the stock market. But that loss, that gambling, that lesson turned me on to real estate. And I haven't looked back. Real estate is tangible. It's a skill. It can be learned. It goes through its own cycles. And, I got into real estate, Cody, where my big goal was simply 4 single family homes. Why is that?
Well,
Because again, it didn't change. I was going to retire at 65 with a huge 401k. And I thought if I had 4 free and clear homes, I'd have a better retirement than anybody I knew. That was the extent of my plan at 30.
well, I like that. The four rentals piece is a big part of everything you chat about. Just get to four, but the brand is one rental at a time. So we
Correct.
start with one, and I love that because something I've been sharing since I got started was you got to keep it simple. And the
Yeah.
reason was I wasn't smart enough to grasp everything if it was complicated. So that's why I gravitate towards what you share with people, one rental at a time. Where did that branding come from?
I wish I could tell you it was some grandmaster plan I had all along. It was not. It basically came to me about a month after I retired. So at the age of 45, I was working as a software sales leader. And if you don't know anything about software sales, every year you get a new patch, territory, quota, stuff to sell, yada, yada, yada. And I loved my job. My ego was in my job. I had just crushed the year before, was going to go to club and, do all of those amazing things. And a bad day happened and I no longer work there. And then I go home and I realize, well, I was going to quit at 50. I guess I quit at 45. And unfortunately, I didn't have a plan B, right? I didn't have one rental at a time. What I had was a type A personality. I had an ego that was 100% wrapped up in my job, right? I wanted to be the man and enjoyed being the man. And now I had none of that. So I went on an unfortunate journey that led to depression and suicidal thoughts, which is wild to think about, right? You're 45 years old, you don't have a care in the world, and you're letting your mind go to these deep, dark places. And it was sitting at my kitchen table in the morning by myself on a Saturday, might have been a Friday. It was either Friday or Saturday, going, I can't live like this. I'm going to take one of these dozen job offers that I've got by accident, and I'm going to go work for someone on Monday because I just got to get out of this negative headspace. And then once I told myself that, once I said, I'm going to get a job Monday, something struck me like a bolt of lightning. I said, you're an idiot. You know how many people would kill for the opportunity that you have? Why don't you try this first? Why don't you do something that you didn't find at 30? Right? One of the things I was desperately seeking, and I've read hundreds of books on real estate and hundreds of biographies on real estate. I never found a story that documented the entire journey, the good, bad, and the ugly, from making the decision until the end. So what I told myself in that moment is I was going to take however long it took, and I was going to write a book documenting our story. That book obviously became known as One Rental at a Time. And, One Rental at a Time, the draft was just a 15-year journey of what Olivia and I did, the good, bad, and the ugly, the painful, the lessons, this, that, and the other. And it felt so good to write that. And if you don't know me or you don't know me at all, I don't write well. I misspell words. Shoot, there's a very good chance you get a text from me and there's the wrong words in it because writing is hard for me. Letters like move around, and it's just an odd thing. But that book came flying out of me, and it felt so good. I didn't even intend to sell it. People don't know this. I had it as a PDF, and I would send it to anybody that would ask for it. You know what the crazy thing is? I sent that PDF to probably 200 people, and only 2 people read it because it was free.
Wow.
It was free. Nobody valued free, right?
Yeah.
One of the persons that did read it, a guy Millennial Mike, he did read it and got back to me, and he was the guy that really pushed me to actually make it a book. So with his encouragement, shout out Mike, thank you for that. We now have One Rental at a Time, which is a bestseller, and is still thought of as one of the high-end books. Most people like to read it with Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Rich Dad Poor Dad's the mindset shift, and One Rental at a Time is this could happen.
Yeah.
So I hear great things almost every day about the book, but that's how it came to be. It came out of desperation. It's a painful memory, frankly.
Something that I've shared on my channel is it's just one day at a time, one step at a time. You take it one step further, say one rental at a time. It's powerful because you made it just basically for yourself. And now it's helping all these other people as a byproduct of just sharing what you did. There's not enough people just sharing what they did.
Yeah, it's really funny. I interact with Sean Cannell, Omar El Takari, these big YouTube guys, big brand builders. And one of the things we often joke about is right or wrong. We talk about there's too many 19-year-old life coaches, right? We joke about that, right? What kind of experience have you learned at 19? I think there should be more Gen X folks kind of sharing their story because we just have decades of experience. And as long as you're honest, vulnerable, don't hide mistakes, you can truly help people. And thankfully, I'm in year 7 of this brand, One Rental at a Time, and I get multiple notes a day across, social media saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's awesome to know that good people can win.
Yeah.
We don't win quick, right? It slowly builds, right? If you want to grow a brand, talk fear, especially on YouTube. But if you want to be authentic and help people, just keep doing what you're doing, Cody. 4 or 5 years from now, you'll be 30 and you'll be helping probably more people than I do. And I'm going to be happy to say I knew you. So, keep it up.
Well, we'll definitely keep in touch along the way. Looking back at your book, which was originally a PDF, you published it, got it out there, starting to help a lot of people. What are a few key takeaways for someone who's reading it for the first time that they should be looking for?
Well, thankfully, I broke the book really into two parts. I think part one, which is about 60% of the physical pages, is just the entire timeline, the entire journey. I think that's important for people because one of the things that I was missing, and frankly, why I wrote the book, was I need to know it's possible. I just need to know it's possible, right? I get the math, it makes logical sense, but I don't know. I don't know. Nobody in my network, nobody in my extended network has done this for decades. And thus, I don't know, right? So, part one of the book is just an honest assessment, again, the good, bad, and the ugly of what 15 years brought us. And most of it is good, not all of it, but most of it is good. So that's the first book, the first 60%. And then the last 40, because I wanted to give you kind of the lessons, I did, a section on key takeaways, right? I said, I talk about getting to 4. I talk about real estate investing being a skill. And what do I mean by that? I do give you some how-to stuff and some lessons learned stuff. That's the last 40%. So some people go to one rental at a time and hope it's going to be like every other real estate book and it's how-to and it's math and all of those things. Yeah, that's in there, but I don't see one rental at a time as a how-to book. I see it more as a history lesson and a lesson learned capture. That's what I see it as.
And there's a lot we can learn from history. That's for sure.
Amen. Amen.
You've got a little photo in your book. Let's chat about that.
I do. I have one picture in my book, my first book, and it was very important to me. I had a friend of mine do that for me. Tom, shout out Tom for doing that. And it's an alligator eating a bag full of money. And the reason that picture is in there is I inadvertently created an alligator. And now what is an alligator? It's negative cash flow. I never bought a negative cash flow property because, that's not what I was doing, but I created one by accident. So how did that happen? I start my journey. I have enough cash to buy 3 rentals, and then I'm out. I'm done. I got no more money. Over time, my properties went up in value, and I was able to do a cash out refi. You guys, you got to remember, I start my journey in 2001, so pre-bubble. And I did a cash out refi of Norris Drive. And I remember the day the banker asked me, how much money do you want? And I didn't know any different. I said, how much can I get? And he said, 42,000 or whatever he said. So I said, I'll take that. And little did I know, I didn't look at the payment. The rent on that unit was still $10.95, the same when I bought it 3 years ago. So no rent growth. But now my payment was like $11.50, something like that. So
Oops.
Before I paid property manager, before I paid any maintenance, before I did any repairs, before I had loss reserves, before, I was losing money. So I would have to work 2 or 3 hours a week so somebody else could live in my property. And that sucks. So never buy negative cash flow. People talk about buying for appreciation and this, that, and the other. And hey, you do you. But I will never do that. I'm a real estate investor that expects each and every asset to stand by itself and produce cash flow. I prefer cash flow day one, but certainly have bought properties that need 90 days, 4 months of make ready before they do. But I have to have a plan for positive cash flow. Do not buy or create alligators. I will never do that again. I will never sell future hours so a tenant can live in one of my properties. Thus, the picture of an alligator eating bags full of money. So it's an image. I actually put it on a T-shirt I work out with sometimes. So it's kind of fun.
That is sweet. I want a T-shirt now.
There you go. I'll send you one. I have an extra. I'll send you one.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we're probably the same size. That's awesome. And that alligator piece is one of the corners, I'd say, of your buy box.
Absolutely.
You talk about that in your book. Do you have other key pieces, folks that are getting started, or maybe they're a little further down their journey, that they should consider?
Yeah. So let's talk about if you're just getting started and you don't know where you are and you're kind of lost. The power of a buy box is its simplicity, but most people don't get that simplicity comes in two flavors. So I'll give you my buy box from 2001. 93703, single family homes, 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, single story, 1,200 to 2,000 square feet. That criteria, that specific criteria, is all I looked at for 3 years. So what does that mean? It means I ignored 99.5% of the market. But I knew that 0.5 better than any human being on the planet. I believe most new investors and some more experienced are distracted. They're like, I'm going to look here and I'm going to look here and I'm going to look there. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at that. And you don't get any economies of scale. You don't build this repetition. I believe real estate investing is a skill, any skill, music, language, sports. You get better at it with daily focused discipline. And the buy box is that. So why is a buy box powerful? And why was that buy box powerful for me? What people may not realize is I have never lived in Fresno, California. I did not spend a night in Fresno, California for 20 years, right? It was not my home market. I had no unfair advantage. So I had to create a list that I could look at in 20 minutes. Folks, I had a job that I worked 60 hours and traveled 20 hours on top of that. So don't tell me you don't have time. A buy box, when done correctly, you can scan and look for changes inside of 20 minutes a day, every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I've been doing this 25 years, and I may have missed 10 days in 25 years. But it's quick. It's efficient for me. So a buy box creates simplicity, focus, and leverage. And again, you get to ignore so many things. That's what I think helps people get started. So a good buy box produces between 20 and 40 active listings. If it's less than 20, remove criteria. If it's more than 20, add criteria. Because you can't go through more than 40 properties in 20 minutes. And again, you got to remember the whole goal of one rental at a time, again, real estate investing is a skill, is I want you to answer this one question. What is an average deal in my market, in my buy box? And once you can answer that after 60 days or 90 days or 120 days, then once you know average, you can do good or great deals. I don't think anybody that follows what you and I do should do an average deal. Let all those other people do average deals. I want you to do a good deal, which is 1.5% higher than average, or a great deal, which is at least 3% higher than average. So those are some other cornerstones of what I try to talk about and help people see.
And not to give too much away from the book, because I recommend everybody goes and at least checks it out. I'm not much of a reader, but I did get it on Audible. So I like that.
Shout out Dion. Shout out Dion for the first time I did Audible, I had a computer voice, which was really annoying. But Dion has come through, and Dion McNeely, Dion Financial Freedom, is the actual narrator now. So what a nice guy he is.
Yeah, and if it weren't for that, I mean, I just don't read books. I like getting my experiences from people, and so the fact that I can listen to it when I'm driving goes a long ways. So I just found it on Amazon, but to not give too much away, but to illustrate what this one rental at a time concept can grow to, what does your current portfolio look like today?
Yeah, we're up over 180 units.
And let's talk about leverage, because unit count doesn't matter, right? To a point.
Sure.
Are you partnered on any of that? And what's your average leverage?
So it depends, partner, yes or no. My partner is my wife. We own these together. We have no outside partners. in any deals. We have a couple of folks who are private money debt, but all the
Nice.
equity, all the leverage is 100% Olivia and I. No outside. We could have grown faster if we had done that, but we just didn't want that extra headache, risk, leverage, yada, yada. And then as far as leverage goes, I'll actually answer that question in two different ways. When we were in growth phase, which we were in for, call it 15 years, our LTV or leverage probably was never below 65% and probably averaged between 70 and 75%. Every time we had equity and it would cash flow, we would go get that capital, we would buy more units. Now we have exited growth phase. Growth phase for us ended in 2020, so 5 years ago. We're still growing. We still add a unit or two every month or every year. Sorry, every year. But our average LTV, since we haven't added debt, now is sub 40 and probably sub 35. Rather say sub 40. So
for those who didn't grasp that, I'd rewatch that little section because that's powerful. There's a lot of people out there that have 100 units or 200 units, but they've got a bunch of partners. Having your spouse as your partner is not the same. That is a lot better.
Agreed.
And you're not 80% leveraged across the board with variable rate debt that's going to kill your portfolio.
No, and the other thing huge. we did, and we talked about in 21 or 22 is we found a DSCR lender at the time. It was Velocity Mortgage. It's not to be hidden, but they allowed me to refi my apartment buildings at 3.99 fixed for 30 years. So we even took the risk away on our multifamily and put it all on 30-year fixed rate debt. And oh, by the way, increased our cash flow exponentially because, sub 4% debt when it used to be 7% debt is a good thing.
Turns out that's a little bit better than 7.
Yeah, 4 is better than 7. Yes. And fixed. That's what a lot of people don't realize is if you're in the game, you keep networking, you can get non-variable rate or AKA fixed rate debt on apartments. And we took full advantage of that. And I don't remember what it was. I think 22, might have been 21, but 22, I think. So, so not only is our portfolio solid leverage, we don't have variable rate debt. I don't care if rates go to 10%. Doesn't impact me one iota because everything we have is fixed, apartments included.
That would open up some opportunities for you moving forward. That's for sure.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Well, where could folks find you? If they
I've done very few things right in life, but one of them is everything I do is one rental at a time. Books, YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, very consistent with the one rental at a time brand. And of course, if you go to YouTube, Cody's got his own playlist on my channel that we're actively building week after week. So come check him out on my channel.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks for joining today. And this will go live tomorrow, I guess. Awesome. Today when people see it.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.